What's poppin', y'all? My name's Lacey. Welcome back to Laced Up, your girl's favorite sports podcast, talking all things Texas Longhorns. And holy shit, y'all, we went into Tuscaloosa and we did the damn thing. We put it on them Christmas tide. We put it on the Christmas tide. That's exactly what we did. Y'all, this is like the fourth time I've tried to record this intro, and so I'm losing my mind, so please ignore me. But I got a very special guest on today. We've got Steven from Fanatic Perspective sitting down with us, talking Alabama, talking Wyoming, talking the ceiling of the season and where we think we can be. And let's just get into it. We got a lot to get into today, y'all, so let's just go ahead and get started. Today, guys, I have a very, very special guest. I know you guys recognize this guy right here. He is all over YouTube, all over Texas Twitter. Big fan, Fanatic Perspective. Steven is here to talk all things Alabama, to talk all things coming up this week with Wyoming. Let's get it started. Steven, how you doing? How you feeling? How's everything going?
Lacey, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to be on with you. Hookem, what a great time to be on after such a glorious victory this past weekend, and our wonderful Texas Longhorns 2-0. I'm excited to be here with you.
Hell yes! Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I had to.
Oh no, how sweet it is, right? I mean, after all of the all the things that we've gone through this off season, what we went through last year playing Alabama and losing Quinn in that first quarter, and there's all this talk about what if, and then to me we weren't the most impressive looking team out of that Rice game, and there was questions. I know I had questions, and to see those questions emphatically answered on Saturday night in a hostile environment where they went through adversity, going up against one of the all-time great coaches in Nick Saban, seeing our coaching staff, many of them who are former Nick Saban employees. Alabama used to be home for many of the people on our staff. Going there and slaying that dragon, it's extremely impressive. There's no other way to slice it. The college football world is impressed with Texas since them now being ranked up to number 4, I believe, in the AP poll. Right. So the validation's there, right? Quinn Ewers right now front and center. Hey, you stepped up. You were the man that went in there into Tuscaloosa and handled your business and played up to the talent and ability that we all know that Quinn is capable of, but he doesn't always show it. He showed out.
We've been craving
Absolutely
a showing like this, a showing where from start to finish, he is that dude. He is the dude that we can lean on, the dude that we can put our trust in, and he delivered. He delivered better than I think a lot of us expected. I think we'd hoped and we'd wanted it and craved for it so badly, but with how we saw him last season, with what we saw in the Rice game, we saw them fight through the first half and come back and get it together in the second half versus Rice. But it was one of those things we sit in, like you said, we still have those question marks of, is this going to ever be consistent?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw it from start to finish. But I was really, really happy with Quinn. I was really, really happy with what I saw from the entire team. The entire program just looked good. They looked good. They looked impressive. And I'm ecstatic with what we saw on Saturday night.
Hell yeah. Right. And one thing I think you asked me before the show was, now that I've had a few days to kind of sit on things, we're recording here Tuesday morning, how do I feel now? Right. And one of my immediate takeaway, but I feel even stronger about it now. The physicality in which Texas played with on both sides of the ball, especially in the trenches, is very noteworthy. That's something that has just been an obvious thing that we've lacked in our football program over the years. And when you talk about people having questions about Texas going to the SEC, it's about that physicality. It's about trench play. It's about, do you guys have enough people? Do you have the depth? I think Texas not only displayed all of those things, but they out-Bama'd Bama in those regards. In all seriousness, I mean, even finishing through the whistle, when you see the different highlight, packages of DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson,
I was about to say,
right, who are rotating at right guard. That's how talented we are, by the way. Those two guys are fighting each other for snaps because we're that deep, right? And both of them are in there mauling guys on Alabama. We would have died for something like that in the mid 2010s, right? In the early in 2020, right? Like the last few years, like we didn't we would have died to have guard play like that. Guys finishing, mauling. The way that they got better as the game went on, I thought they were more in obviously finishing that fourth quarter, the last 7 minutes, and saying, we're not giving
best drive of the game. Best drive of the game, because they were able to emphasize one thing that Sark has been preaching since the beginning. We want to be the type of team that can run the ball efficiently when other teams know you're going to run it. Keep the ball, get it down, do what you got to do, get your couple first downs, end it, ice it, finish the game. Don't give them a chance to show any sort of magic. No Saban magic. Bryce Young ain't there no more, so there ain't no Bryce magic. Nothing. Like, don't give them that opportunity to be Alabama, because we were Texas the entire game. So don't give them the opportunity at the last second to be Alabama. And they didn't. And my biggest takeaway, I will say my biggest takeaway from, and I'm going to say this about the past two games, but we really saw it versus Alabama, was their ability to respond. One thing that we've struggled with is when we get punched in the mouth, everything just seems to fall apart. It just seems to be when the wheels fall off the wagon and shit just gets crazy and everything just gets 10 times worse. We seem to fall apart at the seams whenever we get punched in the mouth, and we didn't. We're seeing guys that Jaron Thompson got burnt by Jermaine Burton and then goes and gets a pick and gets us an extra possession that we go and end up scoring a touchdown.
Right back immediately. Right back
immediately. And we saw it in the Rice game with David Benda. David Benda was one that got burnt and immediately got a sack the very next play. We're seeing a bunch of different guys that, and it, like I said, it's not just one or two guys. We're seeing multiple guys on offense, defense, the entire team that is just bouncing back. Anytime they make a mistake, anytime something goes wrong, anytime there's a dropped pass or a missed block or whatever the case may be, they don't waver. They haven't struggled. They haven't gotten in their head. And it's really, really great to see that as a program, because it's one thing that we've really, really struggled with in the past.
I give a lot of credit to these young men for responding and maturing and developing that sense. But ultimately, you have to give the credit to Steve Sarkisian and the coaching staff, because Sark came out early in the pressers when he was talking to the media, and he said, we know where we've had shortcomings in situational moments in closing games. And I kind of was like, all right, you got to show me, bro, because he said like, we emphasized those things, like from they actually had an explanation for it. They said from strength and conditioning really onward, they were emphasizing, like, in certain moments when the kids are tired, throwing out what do you do in this coverage, by the way, like just making sure that their minds are being trained with the armor that they're putting on their bodies, right? And I give them a lot of credit from a standpoint, and again, starting with Coach Becton in the strength and conditioning program, the amount of guys that are healthy with how we compete and how we practice, we have very violent practices. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about our two deep, like Tavondre Sweat is going against either Cole Hudson or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, our practices are kind of lit now, right? Or if you think about one-on-ones with DBs.
I was about to say one-on-ones with the receivers and the DBs.
Right. So you're gonna have guys like a Manny Muhammad or Austin Jordan going against AD or whoever else, right? In these one-on-ones, it's best on best. So when they get out there and get matched up, like you mentioned, Jermaine Burton, excellent player at Georgia and Bama, they see that now in practice, right? So at least it's like, all right, this isn't crazy. I can adjust to it. We'll be fine. I also think from again, going back to Sark, your program is what you emphasize. Whatever you emphasize on a regular basis, that's what you're probably going to see in terms of the outcome from your kids. And so obviously he has done something in combination with the maturity, right? Because they were young. It's taken him time to bring his kind of guys in, but
a lot of them are still young. A lot of them are still young.
Oh yeah.
They're still
but
young.
You're also
they're showing major maturation from year 1 to year 2.
But he's brought in more mature players though, that are guys. For example, let's give our flowers to Anthony Hill, right? Anthony Hill is somebody who was a 5-star linebacker, probably over, whatever you follow, highest graded linebacker in the class. That is somebody that's ready to play football right now, body-wise and mentally, right? At least to give him something to say, hey, go out and hunt. You can play with us right now. If you look at guys like Jonte Cook, Manny Muhammad, I mentioned earlier, these are people that can be on the field right now and help the football program. Just their maturity is at a higher level than a typical freshman, in my opinion. And I think that's really paid off handsomely for our football team so far.
Well, it goes back to what we've been saying about Sark wanting to build a winning culture. He's said it multiple times that he wants to bring in winners. And Jonte Cook, Manny Muhammad, Colton Vosick, I think Leon Lafau was also a state champion, a state champion. We're bringing in guys that have these championship mentalities that aren't okay with losing, that aren't okay with just being good, aren't okay with just winning a few games. They're not okay with that. They want to go out and they want to actually freaking win something. And you know what? I think this game at Alabama, it's one thing to have confidence in yourself and your abilities as a team whenever you see yourself in practice and you see how you're doing and everything like that. It's a completely different thing whenever you're actually able to look at the film and see just how good you guys were. And to be able to go into a rowdy environment that we knew it was going to be a crazy environment. You knew what to expect. And you went in there and you handled business. You played your ball. You didn't let any sort of Saban influence on anything. You played your style of game and you came out on top. And Sark has been preaching that from the beginning. You go in and you play your game.
It's just very encouraging and exciting for the rest of the season for multiple reasons. Number one, Texas' biggest opponent on their schedule is Texas. Texas' biggest opponent is Texas. I don't want to hear and I've always said this on my platform, my channel. You show your respect to your opponent by how you prepare for them throughout the week. If you respect Wyoming, you'll practice hard. You'll have all your preparation. You'll know exactly what Wyoming is going to do on Saturday. That's where you show respect. It's not what you say in a press conference. It's what you show on the field. With that being said, a lot of these teams should not be competitive with Texas based upon what we've seen and based upon comparative to Alabama, the opponents that we'll see. One may say, oh, that's typical Texas. That's arrogance. Again, if you're showing respect to your opponents and preparing week over week like you should be, you're fine. Texas needs to worry about Texas. It's the person in the mirror because they have now shown us what they are capable of. They have now shown us what the upside is. And the other thing that's beautiful, in my opinion, is Texas didn't even play their best football. They have a lot to clean up.
A lot of people said prior to the game, I remember everybody saying Texas is going to have to go out and play perfect. We're going to have to be absolutely perfect. And we weren't at all. We left
Mm-mm.
what at least 17 points on the board. Because two drop touchdowns or three?
Two drops.
Three?
You had a missed field goal.
Mhm.
We had multiple snafus in short yardage yet again. We
Mhm.
had,
Multiple
Jonathan
times
Brooks.
putting the ball on the turf.
Right. And so there's a lot to clean up, right?
Mhm.
And which is a good, like, as a coach, you don't want to sit there and be like, "Oh, you guys are perfect,"
Yeah,
like
no, there's a lot to clean
it's a
up, but there was a
lot to clean
lot
up.
to be proud of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if you're Sark, you're like, look, we can only get better. That's the
Mhm.
myth. Like, we can only
Yeah.
and we should want to be better.
Mhm.
Receivers, I'm challenging y'all this week. Let's clean up our drops. Let's make sure we have better hands, surer hands for our quarterback. Hey, DBs, defense, we did great. First 3.5 quarters. We can't give up a drive at the end of the game like we gave up, where we just let them waltz into the end zone. And that last drive didn't feel like us. That wasn't us. We hadn't shown that
Mhm.
the whole game. Let's make
Mhm.
sure we're buttoned up at the end of games when some of you guys are getting subbed in that may normally aren't used to. Hey, we're in the middle of a battle. Some of y'all, I may have to throw you in the game real quick, right?
Mhm.
To give me 2 or 3 snaps.
Yeah.
Let's make sure our communication stays on point. But those are things where, as a coach, you love it. You
Yeah.
want to be able to coach these guys up and keep them
Well, because those are
humble
the easy
throughout the
fixes,
season.
right? Those are the fixes that you can handle those fixes.
Absolutely.
You can't fix effort. You can't fix physicality. You can't fix certain things. And simple things like holding on to the ball and making sure you're communicating properly, those things can be coached. Those things can
Absolutely.
be fixed. And so whenever you look at a situation as a coach, whenever you look at a situation like that, you're going to be a little bit more like you're going to be more excited about, oh, hell yeah, we can just go in here and only fix a couple few things and we're up and running again. Like, let's go. And it's great to see from a fan's perspective, because I know obviously we're on social media and everything, but I don't know if you saw, but on Instagram they were already having a party and they were already having a little what is it, like a Wyoming film watching party at each other's apartments and everything like that. They're posting on Instagram stories and everything that they're already watching Wyoming film, and this was yesterday. So these guys, this team is just different. The mentality is different. The culture is different. And I think a lot of people saw that in the way that we played on Saturday. And as fans, we're seeing it in the way that they're preparing for this week. Because honestly, I feel like this upcoming week is going to be even more of a testament to where we are as a program. Because we know that Texas is going to show up for big games. We see it in the past all the time. The issue is coming back and being able to have that same aggression, to play with the same physicality, to have the same grit in the games that we're supposed to win.
It's all the way
Sorry.
around, Lacey. It's all the way around, though. You're right. I
Mhm.
mean, one thing that you also notice is when you're preparing for, you're always gonna have a great week of practice when you're preparing for a big opponent, right? Even when I was in high school, we had our 2 biggest rivals was Blake and Paint Branch. Everybody was always locked in on practice those weeks. Everybody's attention to detail is everybody was on time for film session. Nobody missed any lifts. Like there was
The
nobody
energy is
got in
just different.
trouble.
The energy
Right.
is just, the vibe is just different.
Right, because it's whatever school's week that is, right? But we would drift if we were playing somebody we weren't familiar with, or it was like a school that we were like, they trash.
Yeah.
Like that's when people would start to, and we weren't mature. We weren't mature like these guys are, right? But my point is, that's what Texas has to show, to, like you're saying, right? This week in Wyoming, being the same level of locked in, and it's not just for the, it's easy to get motivated for Bama. Everybody does, right? It's you know how many NFL scouts are going to be watching the game, the eyeballs. I think they showed the graphic, 8.8 million viewers or something like that.
Well, and it got up to, at one point it got up, the highest I think it got up to was 10.7.
Which is a huge number for
Crazy.
College football, right? I mean, I think it's one of the best numbers ESPN or whatever they've done in years, right? And so
Mhm.
that's a testament to, yeah, it's easy to get up for when you know everybody gonna be watching.
Mhm.
Now, this game's on LHN this week. You are gonna have the whole light show and things going on, but it shouldn't be about that, right? It
Mhm.
should be, how do we get better this week? How do we go
Mhm.
3-0? This is our last tune-up. This is our last bit of maintenance before we start our next mission, which is kicking off Big 12 play. We have
Mhm.
one game left to get everything we need to look right. Because what I'd like to see is my starters come out, look buttoned up this week,
Mhm.
and take care of business early against a
Mhm.
very, very feisty Wyoming team, by the way,
Mhm.
which we can talk about.
Yeah,
But we
absolutely.
get that stuff done early so that we can cycle in some more of those guys that maybe need a few more reps that we need to see, that we didn't necessarily get all their reps in during the Rice game.
Yeah.
That way we're truly buttoned up heading into
Mhm.
Big 12 play.
Well, and I'm sure because Sark was pretty, he was not very happy at the fact that Arch wasn't able to get in at the Rice game. He
Mhm.
wasn't very happy with that fact. I think he said it ended up, that was one of the situations where the new time clock rule kind of got to him, and he was like, "Oh shit, well, we're out of time, so sorry, Arch." But this is a perfect time for Texas to go out, start early, get going from the jump, get it done early, and that way those guys can come in and get those valuable snaps. But speaking of Wyoming, going into Wyoming, what are some of your biggest emphasis you think we should look at? What are some of the things that, based off of what you've seen from Wyoming, based off of what you've seen from us, what are some of the things that you think we really need to take note on, and what are our keys in beating Wyoming this week?
Yeah, I mean, Wyoming's they're tough. They're a tough-minded school, tough-minded coach. Obviously, the upset that they were able to pull off against Texas Tech to start the season at home, got everybody's attention. I mean, it is what it is, right? Which is motivation.
I'll make my jokes in November.
Which is motivation for us to really kind of step on the neck and
Yeah,
show, hey, this is what happens when we actually
because
take
it
things
can
seriously
happen.
over here, right? But that goes again to the point of, did Texas Tech take that opponent seriously throughout that week of practice? Did they show the
Mhm.
respect and preparation? Obviously that was an issue, right?
Mhm.
One thing, I believe they went
Well,
to
it was
double
an
OT.
obvious issue with Texas Tech because they
Yeah,
ended up they were looking forward to Oregon, and then they ended up losing to Oregon too. So it is what it is.
yeah, and that game, that was a double OT game. And then they came out and won against Portland State by 2 touchdowns last week.
Mhm.
Where one of our most recent analysts just came from Portland State, and PK and them have ties over there.
Mhm.
One thing I like about Wyoming, the quarterback Peasley, he's tough.
Yeah,
Tough. You can hit him. He
nails.
doesn't
Yeah,
care. He has cojones. They'll run the football. So it's gonna be, it's not a
it's gonna be physical.
game.
It's gonna be more
Yeah.
physical than I think that a lot of people are expecting.
And look, say what you want about Rice. Look what Rice did last
They
weekend,
beat
right?
Houston.
Right. So when you look at, some of these teams coming in, Wyoming, that's the type of physicality Texas needs to show.
Mhm.
Because Texas was so physically dominant, the defensive line against Rice, that we didn't even know that Rice was good offensively.
Yeah, we had no
Like,
clue. We had no clue
we
just
didn't
because
know,
our defense was. Yeah,
because
yeah,
they had to go up against
exactly.
us.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to look like, y'all.
Yes.
That's what it's
Yes.
supposed to look like.
Well,
So
and
what I'd like to see is the same type of performance. Wyoming, now the quarterback for Wyoming will move around a little bit more than JT did, and I think they have a little bit better running game. But
Mhm.
overall, our defensive line, look what they did to Bama.
That's what I was about to say. That if we hadn't just played Alabama, it'd be a different story, and we didn't look the way that we did at Alabama. It's like you said earlier on in the show, we have these expectations now. We've seen it. We've seen their ceiling. We've seen what they can do. And now if you don't show that every week, you're going to get pissed off people.
And there's motivations there for everybody, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how many guys got themselves legitimately on the NFL map or moved themselves up? Guys that were already on the NFL map on our team. Like, for example, I would say Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat were already guys that were in that mid-round area. How now it's like, bro, if you just put the tape together every single week, Alfred Collins too, y'all are going to start moving up and making yourselves more money. Vernon Brought all these guys, right? And so now it's like, hey, go put that tape out there where you just dominating. It doesn't
matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. Go out and put your best film on tape, because the thing is like you said kind of earlier on in the show, it's one of those things where I lost my train of thought. Dang it, I hate when I do that.
He's like spaced out?
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? You had like a point you were gonna make.
Did. It was a good point too. Cause what was it?
Rats.
Oh shit.
Rats.
Dang it. This is why I need to write shit down. I don't remember what I was gonna say. That sucks. But it's coming out every week and making sure that you are putting your best foot forward every single week, because that's what I was going to say. I remember. Because like you said, from what we saw versus Alabama, there's not another team that you're going to see that's like that. There's not another team that is going to be on that level. So you need to bring out that aggressiveness, that physicality every single week, because even though you may not always need it.
And absolutely. There's teams, and football's funny, right? Like there's teams that we'll see that aren't as good as Bama, but their style of play may present they're oddball. I mean, it's kind of like they say in boxing, styles make fights. Yeah, matchups matter, right? And so but with this particular opponent this week, Texas being a 28.5-point favorite at home, if we were going to Wyoming,
my PTSD, man, like that just
like if this was even in that case, right? That's still a game where you should win by 3 touchdowns, right? Yeah. And so I think Texas right now, like I said before, you want to go out there, look buttoned up, going into Big 12 play, keep that momentum going. One thing I thought we started to lose a little bit momentum was last season, and maybe Sark and them will notate this. After the 49-0 OU victory, yes, we did go home and beat Iowa State in that game, but we didn't look great in that game. And Iowa State, honestly,
we got lucky.
Xavier Hutchinson,
their number one receiver drops the ball.
And drops it, or else we're taking an L at home a week after a 49-0 game, and a game in which we were very, very up and down, lackadaisical, and just not we weren't our sharpest selves, right? We didn't play with that same level of intensity that we play with the OU. And the other thing too is just more reps for some of these younger guys, just so they can learn, right? I mean, Cedric Baxter sounds like he's going to be full go. I want to see more Anthony Hill. I want to see more Manny Muhammad. I want to see Derek Williams play again.
Make this the Isaiah Neyor breakout game.
Yeah, guys that are looking for work.
Against his old team, let him do it. Let him go ham.
Let him do it.
Let him go ham.
It's the Isaiah Neyor. Hey, I like that. It's Neyor week.
Let's do it for him. Week. Let him get balls to the wall. Just let him loose. Let Quinn just dot him up. Get it. That's what I'm looking to see, though, because like we have the talent, we have the depth to be able to do that, to be able to spread out the offense a little bit more, to get guys in. Like that was one thing during Alabama. Sark called a hell of a game. Sark's playbook during the Alabama game, chef's kiss, beautiful. I loved the play calling that I saw from Sark. He
sequenced the plays very, very well, in my opinion. He and I think he was able to figure out which personnel groupings we needed to have to really throw Bama off. For whatever reason, that two back set where we always had we just started playing almost the second half. 21 personnel, two backs, one tight end, and it was really throwing Alabama off. And then we were running the tight end screen off of it to where we were able to unleash Jatavian Sanders on these routes where he's wide open, or these screen passes where their backers are still trying to figure out what running back is doing this and what running back's doing that, and all the motion. Absolutely.
We saw that bunch set. You saw the bunch set a couple times. Like he really, really put that shit together. Like I was really impressed with the way that he called the game.
He played the greatest hits of Sark the last 2 years. I mean, I saw some plays in there that I saw there was one particular play I was like, oh, that's the play we ran against OU in 2021 when we scored, like, that I hadn't really seen us run too much. It was a crosser to somebody where we hit it. And I'm like, damn, I haven't seen us call that play in 2 years. Right. And so he just kind of,
Sorry, go ahead.
He did a very, very good job. But the key to it all, you're only as good as your execution and your physicality. And the physicality and the execution allowed them to be creative. You can be creative and have all these cool plays and all this type of stuff, but
it doesn't do anything if you're not actually making the plays.
There's a reason why we were talking ad nauseum about the deep ball before the game. We hadn't completed one. We just weren't effective there. So to see them hit on it twice in the game,
beautiful passes.
Beautiful passes. And again, Quinn showing his arm talent, the additional lift that he put on the ball to allow Worthy to run under with all that space.
And
a lot of quarterbacks aren't even able to throw a ball like that, honestly. That's really difficult to do. I will say, too, when they hit on the deep ball, it kind of, didn't you feel like just a sense of relief for the whole offense after that?
I'm sure Quinn was just like, thank God.
Yeah, and now it's like, all right, now I have a little bit more space because the threat is there. The threat, it's almost like Bama was like, all right, we'll play, we'll let you run up against the deep ball.
Throw the deep ball.
Right. And so for them to hit it twice, and the manner in which they did it, putting that on film, that's only gonna, that should be an eye opener to opponents coming downhill. Hey, if Texas is hitting on this, the whole offense is different now. We've only been running. I mean, you think about the fact that we didn't even hit one last year, almost the whole year, except for the Bama game. That means you're running your offense at like 66%, like efficiency level just off the break, because you can't even take advantage of plus 25 yards downfield like everybody else is doing. So now that we're able to take advantage of that space down there with these elite athletes, oh man, the sky's the limit now for this offense.
Sark is thriving. Sark is thriving right now, and I just hope to see it continue throughout the season. And I'm excited to see how they end up coming out and looking on Saturday, because like I said, that is going to be the biggest test in my opinion, just because we've seen so many times where we wake up for big games, go out, win, do the damn thing. We're so excited, and then we fall on our fucking faces and look like idiots. Do I think that's going to happen? No, simply because the culture of this team is just different. The mentality, the vibe, the energy from this team is just very, very different. We're seeing captains tweeting out on Sunday evening, barely 24 hours, like I don't even know if it was 24 hours since you won, and you have captains tweeting out, okay, I've seen enough of all the hype and everything, now it's just rat poison, now it's just too much, and we got another game this week.
You had a couple guys that even made a comment, or some on social media that just said, yeah, we're 2-0. Because at the end of the day, that's all you are.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're 2-0. Like it was a great moment. It's a moment but we don't want this
It's a moment to remember, but let's remember it at the end of the season when we're holding up
at
some
the
hardware.
end of the season. Yeah, it can't be like the Notre Dame game, back when.
It's a feather in the cap. It's not
We
the
were-
whole damn hat.
Yeah. I will say this too. I want to see this this team. This week I think they'll be, they have their little homecoming now with everything, and Wyoming's not a bad team, not by any means.
No.
2-0 they're 2-0 as well.
Yeah.
But assuming they handle their business like I think they will, my questions now come in terms of Sark with how you navigate this Big 12 slate, because while these teams look suspect right now, we do know we will get everybody's best punch,
especially now that they've seen what we've done versus Alabama.
Absolutely. You're as much as we could talk about embrace the hate, which is true, and I want to keep that energy. We have to be realistic in understanding there are some coaches in this league that have given Sark some serious issues the last few years. And while their team's talent level shouldn't be able to compete with Sark, I need to see Sark have that consistency from a coaching perspective and preparation perspective week over week, just to make sure we navigate those potential landmines that could be there, right? When the Big 12 play starts.
Absolutely, because there are some teams that, like you said, they look suspect right now, but they're not bad teams. Like a lot of people have the audacity to sit and say that Alabama is a bad team. Like, let's not get this twisted.
Goalpost movers.
Yes,
those are goalpost movers.
You can't, because the thing is these were the same people that were sitting there saying that Bama was going to kick Texas' ass. So you can't have it both ways. You can't sit and say before the game that they're going to kick Texas' ass, and then when they don't, now Bama's horrible. And
I've heard people say
they're on the downfall, blah, 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 blah. Like,
I've heard people say, Bama, is Bama even going to get 10 wins this year? They're going to fall apart in the SEC West. They're going to lose to Ole Miss. I've heard that, right? Like, whereas before this was, the third best team in the country and blah, blah, blah. And in my opinion, from what I saw from Alabama, they're going to have a terrific season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to get better. They're young too, so it's like they're gonna get better. Jalen Milroe's gonna get better. So don't sit up here and when Alabama's at the end of the year and they're 10-2 or 11-1, and it's gonna be hard to sell that narrative. But you've seen that all over the place. Any way to discredit Texas, because it's like at the end of the day, we saw something on Saturday that we hadn't seen ever from a Saban Alabama team, and that is two teams that went out on the field, and we saw a Texas team that was genuinely just better. They were better. They were just a better team. It doesn't mean that Alabama's bad. It just means that Texas is actually that fucking good. Okay, we've been saying it. I've preached it ad nauseum because I've genuinely felt this since the off season, since the end of last season, with everything that they've been doing, with how Sark's been building. All of us Texas fans have been feeling it, have been seeing it. It feels so vindicating to actually have that statement win on the resume now. But it is annoying now that the goalposts are all of a sudden being moved, and now it's Bama's dynasty is over. Saban's retiring. He's falling off. Blah 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 blah. No, Texas is just good, and it's okay to say that. And the season has to continue to play out, right? Absolutely. There are 10 games left. We still have 10 games. We have 10 games left, so I'm not declaring the end of the Saban era. This is the most impressive win. All right, so whoever you like. So by that logic, your team should be able to stroll into Tuscaloosa as well, and defeat them, right? Absolutely. Like there's a reason why they were 52-1 before they're now 52-2 in those last however many games at home, right? Like this isn't something to just sneeze at or turn a blind eye towards. So the last person to go and do that was Joe Burrow. Right. Heisman winning Hey, Nick Saban's overrated, according to them.
You know what? He's overrated. He's past his prime. He is got one foot in the grave already, apparently.
Bama's falling off. All this nonsense.
The amount
nonsense.
The privilege. I'm so sorry. The privilege. I wish Texas falling off was only losing 2 games.
Yeah.
I pray.
That's why this Big 12. That's why I'm not even looking at that. Like, this Big 12 season is so important to just shut people up, because at some point Texas will be at the point where they're leaving no doubt.
Yeah,
it's not yet. It's not today, but at some point, when pick whatever raggedy Big 12 team you're a fan of. And we come in there and dust your ass. Then what, right?
Yeah.
What do you have to like?
Yeah. So say what now? What now?
Right. And then that's why I'm like, I just want to leave this conference in that commissioner and that look at the Big 12. That Big 12 tweet.
I think that's been my like. Whenever they had the audacity to throw up the horns and have Quinn throwing them up. Y'all trying me because the fucking audacity to have our names in your mouth all freaking off season, talk shit about us and OU the entire freaking off season, have nothing but negative shit to say about either team, then to sit and claim them after they actually go out and do something. Yeah, no, fuck y'all. Sorry, not sorry. Screw you guys. I'm so excited to be out of this damn conference because they want us out, we want out. Bye.
It was the most like basic tweet too, right? Like, it was like the literal bare minimum. The bare minimum, right? Like, there was no graphic. You just found like a random Texas gif of Quinn that was like 4 seconds long. And like, to me, that's like a subliminal shot in itself, right? Like, even within itself.
Like, they didn't even put any effort into it or anything like that.
It's like when you pop off and you're successful, you do something, you're successful and you pop off or whatever, and like you get a text from like an ex, and it's like, congrats. That's it.
You're like,
congrats. Like, why'd you even send me this?
Yeah, you're like, shut up. Like, go away. It's like that though, because it like I said, the way that they have talked about us all off season, for them to do that, and then it's even better because they had their offensive and defensive players of the week. We're from Texas and OU. So
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
You're going to see a lot more Texas and OU fans really teaming up this year, because an enemy of my enemy is my friend. And we've got a common enemy. And honestly, hey, OU still sucks. I'll always hate OU. Fuck them. But there would be nothing better than to see Texas and OU in the Big 12 championship, just as a big old
that'd be great.
As a big old screw you to this dumbass conference. And that should be the goal. That should be the goal.
Well, I would say, Lacey, we are well on our way. And again, congrats to this football team. I'm so proud of them. I think
yes,
that's another feeling I've had. Just proud. Like, just really proud of how they showed and represented. Like, I was wearing, I've been traveling a lot for work, and I was wearing my Texas hat in the airport and stuff, and people and normally I get crap. I always wear my Texas hat, we're like, there are horns down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But instead it was, man, your boys showed out, man. Wow, y'all beat Bama, man. Wow, man.
The
Quinn,
nod
man,
of
wow.
the nod of respects.
Like,
The
I was with a customer last night, and they were talking kind of off to the side at the dinner table, and I hear him talking about the game and just chit chatting. I'm not even in the conversation. I'm
and you're
just
just like,
listening. And he was like, "Man, that Texas defensive line is crazy." Like, and they're just, but like, it's a respect, right? And so, just to hear that, I'm proud of how they represented, and that's the thing. When you feel that way and you develop that sense of pride, you should want to maintain that. You should want to hold on to that. It matters. You should cherish it. And there's no better way to do that than you put on week over week over week. Like you said, there's still 10 games left. Still got tons of football left to be played. So
hell of a lot to be proud of, but there's still a long way to go. And I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm excited to see what exactly is the ceiling for this team at this point. Like, national championship? Like, is that an actual, like, is that crazy to even sit and say?
Ask yourself this, based upon, especially if you're listening to this show right now or watching the show right now, to Lacey's question right now, what is the ceiling, right? Just ask yourself this. Have you watched all these teams play in college football? Where do you put Texas? In all seriousness. Because I watch everybody. I watched Florida State, LSU last week. I saw how good they looked. I watched, I've seen teams that were supposed to be good that look bad, like Clemson. All these teams, right? LSU didn't look buttoned up early. And again, teams will get better.
It's week two. We all know that. Yes.
Exactly. Teams will get better. Like
we're talking about the ceiling. We're not talking about expectations. We're talking about the
overall, but overall, you can't tell me that Texas hasn't looked like one of the best, if not the best team in college football so far. You can't tell me, like, just off of what we've seen. They look like that, right? And so I'm not saying, we're going to go beat Georgia and Michigan, all these type of teams. All I'm saying is we belong right there, and that's why we're ranked appropriately. For me, I would say the sky is the limit for this team. Health assuming, because that's going to be a big key. Health assuming, the sky is the limit, and that's why they're ranked where they are right now. When you go into Tuscaloosa and do that, you should be thinking big time. You should be thinking playoff contention. You should be thinking that you can win every game on your schedule.
And we can. We absolutely can. So I think our best football is still in front of us. And that's crazy to even say because we played a hell of a game on Saturday night.
I agree. No, that's not the best Texas. That's not the best possible version of Texas.
No, it's not. It's not, because you had drops by where, like I said, we had issues. We had our own issues, and we still went out and played our game of ball and did the damn thing. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just excited to see how the rest of the season goes, and just to see where Sark can take this team, because like you said, sky's the limit. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Did you want to go ahead and tag anything, kind of promote anything?
Yeah.
I know you're working on a few things.
I got a few things we're working on. So for those, thank you, Lacey, for having me on the platform and everything. Fanatic Perspective is where you can find me on YouTube, all social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Fan Perspective or Fanatic Perspective. You should be able to find us there. I'm also doing a joint venture with a few buddies of mine called the SEC Connect, which is our second YouTube channel. We do weekly shows Wednesdays at 7 Central Time. So the SEC Connect, you can go over there and check us out and subscribe. And the reason why we started that channel is with Texas heading into the SEC, we want to have a channel where we are focusing exclusively on that conference and knowing all of our opponents, inside out. So it's a fun platform, multiple creators with different teams. And then most recently, we started a weekly show on Bleacher Report. So shout out to Bleacher Report. We have a weekly college roundtable show where we just pick games on. So that is Friday mornings, every Friday morning on the Bleacher Report app. So if you download the Bleacher Report app, you will see me on there with Nino's Corner, Ty from Around the Table Sports, and Jay from Unfair Sports. And we have come together as a collective, the Bleacher Report that, they should have never let us in, but they have now. And we there and we give our picks every single week. So it's a lot of fun.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That's amazing. I'm super excited for you guys. That's dope. And I'm so thankful to have you on and that you were able to. I know you've been super, super busy with traveling and everything. So thank you for taking your time and sitting down and having some conversation with me, because it's going to be a good season, y'all. I'm so excited. Let's get it, man.
Let's get
go.
it. No, this is a normal talk for us. Even when we're not recording, we just catching up and
when we
stuff.
just shooting the shit. This is just a conversation.
I know.
This is just a conversation. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your day. Hook 'em, guys.
Hook 'em.
That's it for today, y'all. Thank you so much, Steven, Thank you so much, Steven, for sitting down and having this conversation with me. It's been great to sit and just talk about how everything went down in Tuscaloosa, how we can see this team moving forward, and what the ceiling looks like, because this team is talented and this team can rebound. This team has it mentally, physically, emotionally. They're in it. So let's just see how the rest of the season plays out, y'all, because it's we in for it. We're on the ride. Can't get off now. So hook 'em horns. Let's go. Week 3, baby. Let's go.